So if this is the water pipelines for each side, remember there's one water pipeline here, one major pipeline here, one major pipeline here, okay? And the pipeline itself should be like a single unit or a single measurement size for this fractalized square here. Then all you would have to do when you scale up, like in the slides I just showed you how we scaled up and checkerboarded it, then all you'd have to do is ensure that that each of these pieces of the pipeline connect with the other one at their neighbor's home line, property line. And you would have these things connect with each other all the way through the city. Then all you'd have to do is have larger pipelines that connect these smaller pipelines, you see? I hope you're getting this. And then all you'd have to do at some point is just have these larger pipelines hook up with one another at strategic locations, like whether it be here, 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 or here and here. And then the whole system can end up being used much more efficiently. And if we design the pipelines in a spiral fashion and we design them to go along with gravity, then we can have gravity move this stuff for us, and we don't even really need to regulate the systems because gravity will do it for us. So this is what the water pipelines would essentially, and the sidewalks and all that stuff would look like in the grid system. You see? Now, the idea here is that once we get this basic idea down here, once we get this basic fractal idea down here, once we understand that the Tesla coil at the center of the city is creating a massive energetic abundance for everybody that is in the city, giving everybody essentially either extremely cheap or free electricity, then we can take this fractal idea and we can change the shape. As long as you keep the square, as long as you keep the same basic unit of measurement, and you keep the same fractal idea, you can just change the shape from a square to a circle. You can change the shape from a square to a circle and change and just have the water lines be rounded here as opposed to straight. The whole idea is that once you get the basic unit of measurement down and you build out from there, then you can essentially create one massive self-sufficient, completely energy independent city. And within this completely self-sufficient, energy independent city, you would have numerous individuals that are free and have their own form of government. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, okay? Because if we take this idea of implementing the fractal math of the universe into the building of our cities and certain ratios, like, you know, pi or phi or whatever, into the building of our cities, if we take certain precautions and if we take certain measures to ensure that we build on ley lines, and then we try to say build our city in a way that is in tune with the structure of the universe itself, like say this Star of David here, then we can really begin to channel some of these higher dimensional sacred geometric energies through the earth and through the ley lines. And in the process, by getting in tune with these larger geometries in the universe, by laying our systems out, our cities and systems out in this way based off of these geometries, based off of the use of the zero-point energy system that has already existed in the universe itself through the Tesla coils, then all we'd have to do at this point is take this basic fractal design, take this basic cube portions of land design, and we could apply it to creating sacred geometric patterns within our ecosystem that work along with or in conjunction with the flow of energy in the ecosystem in the universe. And in the process, as we create these symbiotic communities based off of this sacred geometric design, you could essentially do the same thing that was done, the same fractal design that was done here. Oops. was done here, except this would be like a round Star of David shape. And so with this, and these things would connect in that way. You see, or you could make it just like a simple triangle, or you could make the city a tetrahedron or whatever. The whole idea is that the more sacred the shape, the higher the frequency of the city. You see? Now, another idea that I had is that around the way that these cities would be built is through the use of nature. So imagine a design like this, and instead of using things like stone for walls and stuff like that, imagine if you used massive trees, rowed together to create massive ever-growing walls. Imagine using things like fungi and animals and plants and insects symbiotically to stabilize the ecosystem. Like, say, for example, using ladybugs and praying mantises in your garden, as opposed to using pesticides, using things like pest repellent fungi to get rid of insects, as opposed to things like pesticide that destroy the microbiological life in the soil and in the water, etc. In this way, by using things like trees, fungi, animals, plants, insects, all symbiotically, we end up stabilizing our ecosystem. And we end up basically getting in tune with the mathematical flow of energy in the ecosystem based off of using these variables, these living variables that are designed to balance the ecosystems that they're in, and using them strategically. Now imagine for a second if we use some of these natural structures in our buildings as a part of, say, our city structures and stuff like that. Imagine if, just for example, instead of using pesticides to grow our crops, and instead of using genetically modified organisms, which are killing bees and stuff like that, and pesticides that are killing bees, imagine if instead we understood the microbiological relationship to the life in the soil, then the relationship it has to the life of the plant, and that we primed all of our soil properly with the right microbiological life to support the macrobiological life that we are planting. And imagine the way that we could use all of this understanding of essentially chemistry of the ecosystem, of organic life forms and organic gardening and stuff like that, as a way of moving our civilization forward to have a symbiotic relationship with the ecosystem as opposed to a parasitic one. And the whole idea here was to build cities to be small but interconnected and symbiotic with the ecosystem based on the smallest units of measurement, and then fractaling out from there. Each small city is self-governed and based on a constitution, just like the federal constitution, their state constitution, et cetera, et cetera. So the idea is that each of these small communities, whether it be a city or a small town or a community or whatever, would have a 3-branch government system, would have a constitution, would have checks and balances, and each city, each little community of, say, 4 kilometers would be self-governing. And in this way, the political landscape would be much more stable and far less easy to hijack. You see, this idea of inefficiency isn't just because of the way our city's laid out. It's because of the fact that we have our cities laid out inefficiently, plus we're stacking millions upon millions of ourselves, millions upon millions of people in these inefficient cities. And so people don't end up being involved in their community. They don't end up being involved in the legal aspects or the legislative aspects of their community. And then tyrants come in, and people with, wide eyes and, not so good plans end up taking over certain cities and locations, like say what we're seeing in California.